my name's Tor Benson. I'm running for the Port Commission for the 4th District, which is basically the farmland north of Bellingham. Yeah, I guess my background is I was born in Petersburg, Alaska, and when I was 5 years old, I moved down to Olympia and grew up there. And then when I was 18, I started commercial fishing in Alaska to pay for college, and ended up basically after college buying a commercial fishing boat and running boats up there for 10 years. And then 4 years ago, I think I moved down to Whatcom County here. And my day job currently, I coordinate cargo vessels that call Puget Sound. And so basically I'm the third party between the vessel and the terminal. So basically making sure that everything goes according to plan. And yeah, I think basically my livelihood's always been tied to ports. And yeah, I have a good background there in commercial fishing. Yeah, like I said, the cargo vessels. So the Bellingham shipping terminal is definitely a point of interest for me. Yeah, so I guess, I've always been involved in the community. So I think previously I was lived in Petersburg, Alaska, and I was on planning and zoning up there for 5 years and served as a treasurer there, farmers market as well. And then in Whatcom County, I guess I'm the treasurer of the Bellingham Bay Rotary Club, and I've been a member of the Whatcom Working Waterfront since I moved to the county. So, public involvement, and ultimately you want to be part of any conversation. And basically, like, my livelihood's always been tied to the port, and so ultimately there's no other organization that I'd like to be involved in. So. Yeah, basically, I intimately know, what the fundamentals of the port do, and feel that my skill set would be best used here. And basically, I don't see it as like a stepping stone either. It's basically, like voters willing. I look at it as like a 10-year time commitment or time frame, where I think if you make incremental changes over the 10 years, we can basically improve our port. We can double its capacity basically and make it a lot more efficient that time. As you may know, the Bellingham Shipping Terminal and the airport have been running a loss the last 3 years, and they're budgeted this year as well. So ultimately, I think, those are assets that have a high potential, and basically we just need to do a better job of communicating them. So, communication, ABC Recycling, as you may know, wasn't a good fit, didn't fit the community's needs, and wasn't a good partner long term. And ultimately, we need to incrementally bring the shipping terminal online, right? It's currently active. Basically, it's just getting rolling. But basically, finding cargoes that are useful to the community and are well suited to the community, I think is an important thing. And then the airport, basically, with Canadian traffic reduction, basically is down over 30%. The airport's struggling and we're losing flights. And so, basically it doesn't currently have a marketing budget. And so in my mind, that's an important aspect too. That just brings it'll bring a lot of people and opportunities to the community in general. So. Yeah, so I guess if you look at my website, so my first name's Tor, T-O-R, and my website's torforport.com. I got 7 issues that I'm kind of focusing on, and one of them is basically doing a comprehensive review of all the properties owned to see if there are some we should sell, and then basically are there strategic properties we should purchase, right? And so ultimately, I don't think the port should just buy and hold forever. Ultimately, it needs to be part of a bigger picture and plan, right? So there's a couple properties on Cliffside Drive, south of the airport. And I believe it was originally, there may be reasons we own them, but basically it's a residential neighborhood, and it'd be something I'd like to review and just see, do we need those properties, or could the community, his housing, could that be a better use for that property, and should the port basically sell those things? So, it's a bigger picture question, but ultimately, I'm open to the idea because we're an evolving entity, right? We basically purchase properties and help industry where we think we can be most useful. I don't think I can choose just one. The short of that answer, I think we need to use all our assets to maximum, basically optimize all of them, right? And so I think, the industrial park hasn't been developed in over 40 years, right? It's kind of been a standstill. And so I think ultimately it comes back to bringing things top of mind, right? The airport is not top of mind, the flights, but also the industrial opportunities there, right? We need to attract industry to that. The waterfront, currently, the pump track, Container Village, I actually am interested in talking to Mayor Lund about changing the name of that from just waterfront to something like the Forum. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Roman Forum, but the idea is it's a community gathering center, right? And I think what you name things dictates what that's going to become. And so the waterfront doesn't really bring forth those images to me. And then Blaine is an important asset as well. And as you know, the cleanup there is important. We just lost funding for that cleanup, and that's unfortunate and something that we need to continue to talk to the legislatures about. But basically getting that back to square one so it can be developed is an important aspect too. Yeah, so I think the beauty of, so as you may know, the basically voters, there was on the ballot to add two new commissioners to the Port Commission, and that passed in November. And so basically there's going to be a Port Commissioner for the 4th District, which is farmland, and then the 5th District, which is the foothills, basically. And so I think that's exactly the intention of this, right, is to bring more conversations. If you have a commissioner that's actually in the communities involved here in the conversations, you're more likely to come up with ideas of how we can improve infrastructure and promote business, right? And so I think that in of itself, those conversations are the starting point. The port has been involved, so it purchased Boxberry Farm a couple of years ago, and you know, that's just a research laboratory basically for agriculture. And so I think that's a good nod at that direction, right? It's what can we do? Ultimately, we need to be mindful. It's not just you shouldn't just be doing things for optics, right? It's not we go purchase something just because we want to show that we're helping communities. It needs to have a fundamental purpose. But we have been involved, like the Sumas lumber yard up there. You know, the port purchased that, got that going, and then sold it to the company ultimately. So, you know, there's opportunities. The Whatcom Waterway, as you may know, the Bellingham shipping terminal just got dredged to 35 feet. And so, you know, I think that's like the minimum depth that most large vessels need to come in. And so, you know, that's a important improvement there. Just continuing, you know, I think the holding pond is another big project, right? Ultimately, what's the vision for that? Is a big conversation, and getting that basically like a laydown yard where boat operations can happen, in my mind, would be a beautiful asset. So I think, just continuing to improve that waterfront, and then, you know, all the ancillary things that go along with that, right? The beauty, I guess, another reason I'm attracted to this position is it is nonpartisan, right? And so I think politics infuses itself in that. You know, you can get endorsements by certain parties for this position, and basically I'm approaching it with that intention of being nonpartisan. So I'm not asking for party endorsements, or trying to keep it, basically nonpartisan is the short of it. And then, you know, my philosophy is basically, you know, I think a friend of mine that's a commercial fisherman actually just called me purple collar the other day. And so, you know, I'm comfortable, basically, I made my living, and currently, you know, I'm intimately involved, I guess, in the ports. But I also understand, like, I'm a certified financial planner and basically help individuals and businesses make informed financial decisions. And so I think, like, a spectrum of knowledge and perspective, I want to bring that to the port ultimately. And irregardless, I guess I'm not partisan is the short of it, in my personal life either. And so I want to bring that aspect to the port. So as I mentioned, I think my first name's Tor, T-O-R, and my website's Tor for Port. And basically, it has a lot of good information on there. This is a great snapshot. I think hearing someone's actual voice and perception in these interviews is a beautiful thing. But yeah, there's a lot of information, a lot of different topics. I mean, the role of the port is to provide infrastructure and business opportunities for the entire county. And so, I'm excited to take on that role. And I think, you know, my personal experience, I have intimate knowledge of the industries and a background, and like I say, my day-to-day operations, I help businesses and people basically make informed decisions, and that's ultimately what the port's just doing, right? We have these assets and this certain funding, and it's like, how do we make best use of this, right? How do we, the pump track container village, you know, how do we continue to optimize that and make it so that it's more vibrant place for everyone to come? And you know, it's not a competing interest either. Just because the, you know, waterfront develops doesn't mean we're taking away from the downtown. Ultimately, we're just revitalizing everything in my mind. So.